Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and once again, this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Larsen Saturday, so we are looking at the next issue of my collection, both written and drawn, in this case, by Erik Larsen. It is Spider-Man issue 15, cover dated October 1991. So going back, just giving you a little bit of history, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I bought this just before I kind of really became a fervent comic book collector. I lived in Victoria, BC at this time on the military base, and I would go to the corner store, which on military bases is called the Cannex, and they had, back in the day, you know, a news rack for magazines and books and stuff, and obviously they sold comic books as well. This is not that original issue that I bought off the newsstand. Obviously, that's why you get the face here and not the barcode. That issue is long gone, and as you'll see as I go through this one I bought a few years ago. It's nice and crisp. I don't think the person who had it even opened it up. My original issue was, you know, as floppy as could be. You know, a little bit of wind and it would fly away. So what I just, again, historically want to mention here, I'm still buying off the newsstand. I don't know comic book shops exist. I'm kind of every once in a while picking up issues that look cool to me. And the thing with this issue is, you know, just how it worked out. The issue before this was by Todd McFarlane, and the issue after this, issue 16, is his last issue of Spider-Man, also his last Marvel issue. But at that point, I knew nothing of the history of Marvel and the characters and how, you know, artists can move from books to another. I had no idea how comic books worked, just generally. So I thought this issue looked cool, and I picked it up. And again, I had no idea who Todd McFarlane was. That would take a few months after this, when I discovered Spawn issue 2, and that was my first conscious McFarlane. So I did definitely, I remember enjoying this issue very much, enjoying the art and stuff. Erik Larsen, what I'm going to point out, you can see it on this cover. It's on full display, and also in the interior art. He's good at everything. You know, when there's quiet moments, you know, they look great. They're quiet. They're framed the right way. They're subdued. Now when it's time for some big old comic book action, he's awesome at it. His characters, as you'll see within this, very dynamic, and they move. I talk a lot about this. We're looking at still images, but his characters just seem to move, and they're very animated. And again, that's in the way he achieves the dynamics and the foreshortening, the extreme foreshortening and stuff that he uses. He's just a well-rounded artist. And as opposed to McFarlane, who does all that stuff but kind of exaggerates it, and sometimes the anatomy is a bit off, his anatomy and the bodies and stuff are always well constructed, well built, and make sense. And I do definitely think he's slightly more realistic than Kirby, but you know, the dynamism and the foreshortening and stuff is definitely taken from Jack Kirby. I mean, Erik Larsen makes no secrets that Jack Kirby is a huge inspiration for his art, and we'll see more of that as we go through the comic. Let's crack her open. So the basic story, real quick, because I have read this one a bunch of times as a kid, I remember, is the idea that Spider-Man and Mary Jane are thinking of having a child, but they're worried because of his radioactive blood and stuff, if there could be complications with a pregnancy or any weird stuff kind of going on, right? Here's an example of how I think Erik Larsen is just one of the awesomest artists, right? So he's, you know, excuse me, summer cold. So he's using so many things here. First of all, the upshot, right, is awesome, super dynamic. Spider-Man in typical Spider-Man pose, and he's so close to us that his legs are popping out of the frame, which is, you know, gives us that sense that he's coming towards us. The uplighting, the way he's done it here, where, you know, you see the lines of the costume where the shadows are, or in the back parts, but anything that's hit with a light just kind of gets blanked out a little bit, even on the arm here. So it's the kind of thing when you're trying to learn to draw and you're a kid, you're like, wait a minute, what? This is kind of odd. But Larsen does it so well that I think doesn't take too long for your eyes to adjust to the fact that there's just so much extreme light there, that it's so bright that the lines are disappearing, right? What may have helped this is maybe this area and this area here, to me, being even a little bit lighter, but I mean, it does work. You know, it doesn't take too long to figure out what's going on in this image, and that's a hard thing to draw. It's a hard thing to get across. And Larsen at this time still using lots of screen tones, right? Which I always love. So we've got the credits here. Erik Larsen, guest artist and writer, and after this is issue 15. 16 would be the last McFarlane issue. The next issue after would be his last run on Spider-Man before moving on to Savage Dragon. I even think he was working on Spider-Man Savage Dragon probably around the same time. So some of his last Spider-Man issues and first Savage Dragon issues probably drawn at the same time. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how the schedule worked out back in 1991-92. So Chris Eliopoulos, letterer, Gregory Wright, colorist, and these guys would follow him to Savage Dragon. And, I don't generally mention the editors. So The Mutant Factor is the name of the story. And again, Peter and Mary Jane want to conceive. They're worried there could be problems, so Spider-Man seeks out the Beast, Dr. Hank McCoy, who's, I guess, a very intelligent, scientific kind of guy, right, from the X-Men, to find out more about, what kind of complications could happen. And also because of their meeting, they do also come across a character who is a mutant and who's causing problems. And it obviously kind of works with, the whole storyline coming full circle. And giving Spider-Man an example of what could go wrong in this case, right? So, like I said, when it comes to just basic storytelling and having a conversation here, 2 pages of a conversation, he still, makes it interesting, but it's subdued. You know what I mean? Horizon lines aren't tilted or anything. It's a domestic scene, but he still has, a big close-up here, a bigger kind of shot here, right? So varying the size and the formats of the panels to still kind of keep the rhythm interesting and keep the layout interesting. This, even though these are 2 pages, it almost feels like a double page spread to me, right? And it does encompass, I don't know if it encompasses the whole scene. I don't think so. There's a bit left over here, right? And this is where they've had discussion, and, he goes to find the Beast. He sees in the paper that he's giving a speech somewhere, so he's going to go try and meet up with him. And somewhere else here, B story, which is going to meet with A story. Oh, what's going on in here? They seem to think he's very cute and stuff, and all of a sudden, these 2 big fists, so maybe not as cute as we think. And definitely from the silhouette here, nothing cute about this guy. Looks like a big brute. And from the texture on the fists, probably a monster. So some good storytelling there, right? I've always liked Larsen's buildings in general. He has kind of a very simple and effective way of getting the point across, with some lighted windows and a few cubes and stuff, and totally works, right? This probably didn't take too much time to draw. And we get a money shot here because what's happened is there are some protesters where the Beast is speaking. Obviously, some are pro-mutant, some are anti-mutant, and all hell breaks loose as this mutant starts attacking, right? So again, we get a nice money shot of Spider-Man here. Larsen's amazing at it. He's definitely channeling some of the McFarlaneisms of that time, which is normal because McFarlane's version of Spider-Man is what's most popular. So much extra webbing in the costume details and stuff. What Larsen does, though, is he has that sound anatomy. So when he does these weird kind of stretchy poses that Spider-Man is known to do, especially under McFarlane, right, where he's super hyper flexible, well, Larsen makes it work. It still works. Where McFarlane sometimes, even though I like his art, the anatomy, if you really pay attention, there's stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. But everything anatomically with Erik Larsen is sound. That basic composition, he's just got it down. All poses. Again, this comic moves here, movement here, even just in this pose here, you can see how, you feel how fast he's going. And again, look at, the foreshortening on the arm and all this. This could go wrong really quick, but everything anatomically is 100% sound here with the Beast. And the Beast kind of has that same characteristic as Spider-Man where he's jumping around, he's very athletic. So even though he's kind of bulkier, he's kind of mirroring some of Spider-Man's poses, I guess you could say. I always loved, even as a kid, the way he's drawn the hand down here, kind of like a gorilla, I guess, somewhat like a gorilla would put his hand down, but it feels so solid and like weighty where he's pivoting off that hand and moving forward. I just always thought, even though it's a small kind of background drawing, let's not talk about detail, but composition of anatomy, this is like gold and done so well. Doing the McFarlane eyes as well on Spider-Man, but he would round it off here. I mean, Erik Larsen definitely, I don't want to compare too much to McFarlane. He's definitely made his own. And again, I think anatomy-wise, it's always head and shoulders above what McFarlane was doing. McFarlane was kind of the originator, though. Larsen, you'll see a lot of these, the big, open, wide mouth, and you see all the teeth and stuff. Love it. I mean, maybe I would have put a tongue in there, but maybe deadline just means you do it quickly and you move on. And really, what would it change as you're reading the story? That's the thing is, excuse Excuse me, there's that cold again. And that's the thing when you're reading comics, you know, as much as I stop here in the reviews to kind of appreciate and point things out, even I, when I read through it, read fairly quickly and move ahead and don't really stick on those details. That's like, for example, why some of the anatomy by McFarlane you won't notice right away unless you really kind of sit there and analyze it, right? Just this great foreshortened shot that serves as a foreground element to the whole page, right? So right away, just by doing that, creates more depth in each panel on the way down. So this panel here, with her being overlapped a little bit, the fact that the hair goes out of the frame, I always love stuff going out of the frame. I do it constantly in my work. It really does help, again, to give an extra sense of depth. The arm overlapping this panel creates depth, even though they're not necessarily, you know, meant to be linked together. Whatever's happening to the beast is happening in this panel. But I guess you can assume he's still flying through the air as this panel is happening. And you still got some of his hand, so in this panel as well. And then kind of the next move or repercussion of that being thrown or punched through the air. Again, it's those ties with animation, right? Like the in-between drawings and stuff that you don't see in comics, but you're still kind of almost setting the important moments in, for example, a storyboard for animation, right? And then you get other artists to draw the in-between to make those movements match from, you know, the arm being like this and then the arm being like that. Then a few in-betweens are done to make that movement fluid, right? So here we're not getting the in-between drawings, but there's a very animated kind of feel to Erik Larsen's artwork. Once again, look at that panel, like that impact. Just everything is moving to the right and giving you that sense of dynamics there. And again, he's using that overlapping the panel trick, which helps to give depth here and here as well, even though she's maybe not literally part of this panel. Always thought this was a great example of foreshortening. Once again, the anatomy seems all correct and stuff. It's not the biggest, most flashy drawing, but there's just something great about how well it's foreshortened. This one too, that's like, you know, sometimes you're like, for some reason, as you'll draw a nice quick face or whatever, and you like it, and then, you know, for storytelling purposes, you'll have something overlap that face, and you feel behind, you're like, oh, I got to erase part of the face now. I definitely had to get over that. I think I have at this point. So it's like, well, what are you trying to do? And what's most effective in that drawing is the overlap, right? And that helps create that sense of depth rather, not death, dynamics, right? And it heightens, again, the drama. So it just, that overlap of the face achieves so many things that it's worth it to lose that little bit of face that you may have drawn really well. Don't get too precious with it, because ultimately the goal is storytelling, and Larsen is a master at that. And this is still, to me, like not yet a fully kind of, you know, it's like a Image Marvel comic, I guess is how I'd put it. It's like, you know, Image would really bring it to the extreme, but I still think when Erik Larsen is doing it here and in Savage Dragon, I guess he's one of the only artists who didn't go too overboard. He was always focused on storytelling. But this is like, you know, the most extreme level of dynamics and foreshortening and stuff that you could see in a Marvel comic in around that time. Love these kind of scritchy kind of panels that they used back then. Rob Liefeld would do it too, Jim Lee. It just, again, adds to the energy and the dynamics of the scene. Another great foreshortening, that open mouth kind of thing that he does everywhere. I do want to go back and point that out, because I didn't, just because I think it's one of the great ones. He does it a lot with Beast, obviously, in this issue, because he gets the opportunity, but like this mouth here, agape, now we get the tongue, and even just the quick tooth texture and stuff, I think is just so well done. The only weird thing here is the colorist colored the interior of the lip white for some reason. That was missed. I'm assuming it would be blue or maybe darker blue, since the Beast himself is blue. So again, some more great panels here. Swak Barakadash, that's a funny one. But just everything, you know, going to the vanishing point here, everything leading the eye over here, the body, even the tense kind of tendons and stuff, just amazing. I love it. Larsen, again, is a master at this stuff. So Spider-Man grabs the Beast because, you know, now that the initial conflict is over, he wants to go to a quiet place and talk with him. So then we get, you know, I would almost compare this more to the domestic scene we saw with Mary Jane at the beginning, right? Everything kind of quiets down. Horizon line stops tilting, you know, no speed lines or anything. We're just having a normal conversation. Although we're still getting our typical kind of Beast and Spider-Man poses. And again, even though the Beast is a bulkier kind of character, anatomy-wise than Spider-Man, their poses are all very similar. You know, this is a very Spider-Man pose because Larsen is trying to get across that acrobatic kind of flexible thing that, in a funny way, both Spider-Man and Beast possess in at least in the general continuity and reality of the Marvel Universe. So, of course, domestic scene. Oh, panel's tilted. Something's going on, right? Like, already we know there's something askew, literally and figuratively and metaphorically. So, obviously, we see a character here pushing a truck. These guys are going to get involved. So we get one more sweet-ass pin-up here, which is super awesome. Love the background details here. The down shot. Again, the anatomy, the foreshortening. This is just, you know, pin-up worthy, t-shirt worthy. Just a great illustration. Gotta say something. Larsen knees. There's just something about the way he draws knees. I know that sounds weird, but just I love the way he draws knees. They look fairly realistically like knees. All right, so they encounter this monster here. Obviously trying to attack them. Excuse me. There goes that cold again. Some more great foreshortening, tilting of the horizon line once again to make everything dynamic. Everything is composed and working in the same sense here, you know. That's a Larsen spread as well. Probably drawn quicker and smaller, but... So, of course, both Spider-Man and the Beast trying to take this big monster out. Get down to the sewers, which maybe leads some inspiration for Larsen in Savage Dragon #2 a little later on, I believe. There's a whole scene with this kind of Spider-Man arachnid character in a weird way, which could be an amalgamation, of this character, the monster, and Spider-Man. If you put them together, almost look like the arachnid in Savage Dragon #2. It certainly seems like it's taking place in the same sewer. Love this shot of Spider-Man punching him in the face. Super dynamic. We got, you know, the speed lines merging to a vanishing point, which is somewhere obviously right where the impact happens in his face. And doesn't seem to do much because the monster just grabs Spider-Man and puts him underwater in the sewer. I do appreciate the coloring of the water, kind of greeny. Don't think sewer water would be very clean. And we're getting Spider-Man obviously inside his own head. The close-up here helps. And, you know, he's wondering, is this the end? Is this what it's coming to? What's going to happen to Mary Jane? Blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Typical Spider-Man pathos. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, this monster, there's these two people here in the background. Joey, is that you? And as he releases Spider-Man, Spider-Man can breathe again. You start to see a transformation here. And you realize here, you never see him very up close, I don't think. But you realize that that huge monster is just a little kid, maybe 2 or 3 years old. And these people, what I gather from the story, are homeless, right? And they were just trying to, you know, calm him down to, you know, transform from the monster back to the kid. And, you know, Spider-Man's realizing this is insane. And obviously that's, you know, what we talked about, the theme of the story, where Spider-Man and Mary Jane are thinking of conceiving and having a kid and possible issues that could come with that. Obviously, here's, as I said earlier, an example of how that could go wrong in the Marvel Universe, right? If there's any kind of mutant gene involved, or it could lead to some serious problems, right? I guess it's a metaphor for in real life where parents can have kids with autism or special needs or things like that, right? So even though the concerns themselves specifically are a little bit different for Spider-Man, they do mirror concerns of parents before having children, those concerns that, you know, actual parents can have in real life. Again, more exaggerated foreshortening on the Spider-Man, which I love, but typically in the Larsen manner, where all the anatomy is sound, everything works, everything is well connected. You know, even though you don't see the hips, you can understand that he's turned them a bit below his back and his chest here, and you're getting, you know, those extreme foreshortened legs, which, you know, Spider-Man is known to be very flexible. So, you know, within the confines and reality of the comic, it's totally possible. And then we get back home to a domestic scene, right? And, you know, Mary Jane says, I don't want to sound selfish, but my acting career is just starting to take off. Having a child might ruin that. So basically she's saying, you know, maybe we should need to put that in the back burner. And I think Peter Parker, with, you know, what's just happened, transpired this night with the Beast and that mutant monster kid, probably agrees with her, right? We can push that off for a little bit further for now. All those problems that might come with the child. And just before I move on with whatever's left, do want to point out, I really like this. Is a super simple panel. right? The kind of city backdrop and Spider-Man, just the casual way he's swinging, still very flexible and athletic. And the way he's just kind of, I love the body language of this silhouette, where he's just kind of letting go of the last one and moving on to the next thread, moving forward. I think that's just, storytelling wise, just a great panel right there. And I have to assume he put Mary Jane in lingerie, just again, for the fanboys who read the books, you know, the 12, 13-year-olds who still have not encountered actual females. You know, we were all there at some point. Take a meeting with the Tinseltown Avenger Wonder Man, Hollywood hype and heroic happenings. Man, this book, just horrible. If you're making a comic about Wonder Man, you're doing something wrong, honestly. There are probably way more interesting characters in the Marvel pantheon that you could, you know, give a series to. But they were trying back then. They were trying everything. So there you have it. This is Spider-Man issue 15 by Erik Larsen. Hope you enjoyed the review and enjoyed the material contained within this comic. Please leave a comment if you feel like you need to. And I hope everyone is cool with liking and subscribing if you enjoy the content on my channel. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone out there has a great day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at kingcomics.ca, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.